Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today is part 3 of 5 of my spring watercolor series. Last week we painted some mallards in the sky, and this week we are going to be painting a beautiful vase of tulips with watercolor. To me, when I think of spring, I think immediately of tulips because I have some in my front yard that always bloom every spring, no matter how well I water them. In fact, I don't really water them at all, and they still keep coming back every year, so I'm very thankful for that. And if you're new to my channel, my name is Emily Winslow, and I love to help others learn watercolor and find joy in painting. So let's go ahead and grab our paintbrushes and get started. So let's quickly go over what materials we are going to be using today. So for the watercolors, I'm using this Winsor & Newton professional grade watercolor kit. And then for my brushes, I've got 3. I have a size 12, a size 8, and a size 1. And for my paper, I'm using the brand Strathmore, and as always, you can find all of this on my Amazon storefront. Link is in the description. So let's go ahead and start sketching out our vase of tulips. So for these tulips, I think I want to have it kind of in the lower right side for the vase. I don't want to see the entire vase, so I'm just going to go ahead and just sketch like the top part of the vase out. And then I'm going to go ahead and just like add maybe a little bit of a lip to the vase. All of our vases can be a little bit different. You can design it however you want. I just think that I love vases that kind of go inwards and then maybe out towards the bottom. So that's just what we're going to be doing here. Just about the top of the vase, right about here. So now for the tulips, I am just going to start maybe loosely marking out where I want them to be. So we don't need to draw too tightly what the flower looks like. I'm just going to just maybe put some oval shapes here around. Something that I kind of say a lot in my tutorials is I try to avoid making paintings too symmetrical. So that's why I'm just kind of placing them wherever I think that they might look nice. I don't want to clump them all in one section. I think I want to maybe make some leaning over the edge here. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe paint one that's kind of maybe a little bit more open. Maybe like that. And then I think it'd be even really pretty to have one that's like all the way out of the vision of the painting here. So I'm just going to kind of cut off the painting right about here. So it looks kind of more realistic when you've got, you know, some tulips falling out of the vase. You don't want it to be too perfect. I'm going to go ahead and maybe put like a leaf here or something. Now the tulip leaves are kind of more, I'd say more long, and then they come to a point at the end, so you can go ahead and just kind of make them come to a point out here. And then for this area right underneath the flowers that we sketched, we don't need to be too specific with where the leaves are. We're just going to maybe mark out where some of the tops of the leaves fall, so I'm just gonna do that here. And I might even make one more pretty little tulip up here. And I am liking how this looks. I think that the composition of the painting looks nice and even. So we can go ahead and get our painting started. So I have an idea about how I want to go about this painting. I am not sure how this is going to turn out, so we are going to find out together. I think it'd be so pretty for the background, like behind the flowers, if it looked like, you know, a morning light. So we've got like warmer tones and then we add shadows of the flowers. So we're going to try this out, and we might need to wait a little bit in between for things to dry. But what I'm going to do is start with a nice warm tone first. So I want to have maybe a little bit of red and yellows in here to make this nice warm color. So I'm going to take this color and just put that here at the edge of the paper. And I'm just going to spread this all around our tulips, and then we'll go back in with the shadows over it. So I just want to make sure it's covering all of the paper around our tulips. You can go in maybe with like a darker tone and like put that kind of near the top here. And just make sure it's getting lighter, maybe towards where the tulips are. I'm gonna grab maybe more of like a lighter color to put underneath here. Again, I'm not really sure how this is gonna turn out, so we're finding this out together. I just didn't really want to leave the background completely white, so that's kind of why I'm like, oh, I think it'd be pretty to make it look like the light is shining in maybe through a window or something on these tulips. Put some a little bit down here, just in between our tulips. So now that we have that layer, I'm actually gonna go in with the shadow color before we even start painting our flowers. So for a shadow, I'm just gonna mix up like a light blue, maybe a little bit of purple in here. If this is a good color to start with, we might go in and darken it. So I am just gonna start taking this color, maybe like right around where we are going to put the color in our tulips. So just on the edges, and we are gonna keep the shadow consistent. So we wanna have it on the left side, as if the light source was coming in on the right side. So I'm just adding that in, maybe making the stem, maybe some of them are going to be a little bit lower than the actual, so I'm leaving a little bit of that orange background in between this leaf, and maybe this one is right about here. We're gonna see if this ends up looking like what we thought. So far, I think it's looking okay. Now I do want to actually make this side more of this shadow color, and I'm gonna try to make it look like there's maybe like a windowsill here. So I'm just so I'm adding in this like purplish color here. Now I'm gonna take maybe a little bit of a lighter color of the shadow, so I'm adding white and blue, and I'm just gonna soften maybe the edge a little bit here to blend it in a bit more. And then I think I want to just kind of add maybe some lines to look like the leaves are popping out here. I'm going to take more of the shadow color and actually make it look like there's even like the middle part of a window is coming down through here or something. So just kind of making a straight line. I just love the look of light and shadow, so I'm just playing around here, learning right along with you all. So let's go ahead and just move on to our vase, and then we'll tackle our flowers. So I am going to do maybe like a nice, trying to balance out colors a bit, so maybe like a nice robin egg blue or something. So I'm just gonna take like a blue and a white, make something nice and muted here, just like a really nice springy color that can offset, because I think our tulips are going to be more pinkish. So let's go ahead and, yes, I like that color, it's so pretty. Let's lay that in, and I do want this right side to maybe be a little bit lighter than the left side, because if that's where the light source is coming on, that is where it would hit the vase. So for the left side, I'm just going to take a little bit of a darker shade here, maybe a little bit of black in here to tone it down, and we're just going to add that in to add some shadowing here. I'm going to go around the lip that we had and just like leave the inside of it a little bit lighter, blend this line a little bit better. Let's go ahead and take an even like just a darker blue, maybe even put a little bit of red in there to make it more purplish. I'm going to continue adding on these layers to add the shadows. And I just want to blend this in a little bit better here, so you can just take a wet brush and swipe that up. Maybe even just add some of that dark color here on the other side. Doesn't need to be across the whole area. Maybe just around the lip, maybe just to help define it a little bit more. Okay, let's go ahead and start tackling our tulips. So like I said, I think I want it to be a nice like pinkish color. So let's go ahead and grab a red, and I'm going to use some white here. So I want it to be nice and light here. So I think this light pink is a good one to start with, and we can start going in with other shades afterwards. So I'm just going to tap that. I'm just going to take my color in and just lay it all over my flowers. And you can make your tulips whatever color you want. You don't have to follow the colors that I'm using here in this painting. Just recommend, picking colors that complement each other. And maybe if you have white flowers, don't use a white base unless you want it to be nice and aesthetically white. That actually might look kind of cool. But all of our paintings are going to be different, and I think that's what makes art so cool. We are all our own artists, and no matter if we're all doing the same painting, they're all gonna look so different and with our unique thumbprint on it. I'm in this art class right now it's like a wedding painters class, and that's we've had like weekly challenges for doing different paintings that we all do the same painting. And that's what I've noticed is even though we're all painting the same thing, everything turns out so different, and it's really cool to see everyone's different art. Something that I really love about that class. Okay, I'm actually going to take like a yellowish tone. I think it'd be pretty to see if this yellowish tone might look nice on the side where we see light. I'm going to see if that blends in okay. And then after this, we're going to take some like a purplish color to add our shadows. And I'm just going to continue adding some of the tulips up here, kind of mist. Let's go ahead and take like a cooler purplish tone. I'm going to have some blue in here though. Let's start with this one, and we might go darker. So I'm going to start adding that on the left side of our tulips here, kind of following where we've been laying our shadow. We want to make sure we're consistent with the shadow, making sure it's kind of keeping to the left bottom part of our tulips. And this will just help us add some definition. And let's go ahead and like put some lines within the flower to make it look like it's that petal. You know how they kind of look like looks like two lips of a petal. So that's why they're called tulips. Adding that line, they don't need to be too perfect. I am such like more of a loose painter. I don't do too I do admire flower painters who can make it look like really realistic, like that actual flower. I don't quite usually do that with my paintings. A little bit more loose here. I'm gonna put this more in the middle because this one's a little bit more open. And I'm gonna make maybe this one at the top a little bit more open as well. Trying to define this one a little bit more because I kind of let it run together a little bit too much, but that is okay. And then down here, want to make sure we don't forget this guy. Okay, so now that we have that shadow in here, I think I want to go in with like an even darker shadow on some of them. So I'm going to take blue and maybe a little bit of black here. Just want to be careful not too much, but just want to, add a little bit more drama to some of them. Maybe the ones here in the back, make sure it's got that shadow. Add that maybe to this one here. And I'm working while the tulips are still wet, so it's got that nice blend on them. I think this will start looking really nice once we start adding in the green. I think that will really start to pull it together. So I actually decided I wanted to pull some of the color off of some of them because I really want these to look nice and highlighted here on this side. So I'm just gonna pull some of the color off by using a paper towel. And you can just wet your brush and then dot it with your paper towel. And see how that just kind of added the highlight a little bit back in here. Just gonna do that a little bit more over here. And then let's go ahead, and then I wanted to just make the pigment a little nice and brighter. So that's why I wanted to pull some of the color off. That way I can just go in more of like a pinkish color. So I'm just gonna add that back in a little bit here. very lightly. It is a little risky to pull off watercolor and to add some back in, but I just wanted to get the color how I wanted it. So I think this is looking a little bit better. Okay, so let's go ahead and start adding some green in. I'm just gonna mix up like a nice green, a little bit of white in here. And I'm gonna take this green and start laying that here in the leaves. Just like this. I love the pop of color that this green is adding to the tulips. I think it looks so good together. And we can just add it all here under, right on top of the vase here. So let's just make sure that we have our stems going up. Maybe just make sure that you leave a bit of the orange color underneath. I think that really does just add to it a little bit. Just gonna make sure that we have leaves sporadically placed around area. We don't want it to be too perfect looking. So here I'm just gonna grab some more green, and just want to make sure we don't forget stems here at some of the tulips that are draped over. I'm gonna make sure that got some leaves poking out over here. Keep the painting a little more interesting. I think that's starting to just really pull the painting together. Something else we can do is to start adding in some darker greens. Go ahead and grab our brown, maybe a bit of blue in here, just to add some interest to our pigment. And I'm going to start just marking some lines just to, you know, mark out more where the stems are. And then I'm also going to just let the paint bleed together. I want it to be darker here at the bottom where the lip of the vase is, and then we're gonna you know, slowly let it bleed up into the leaves. That just gives it a lot more dimension. Go ahead and just let your paint work for you. I think that's just the best way to get loose paintings with watercolors, just to work with that wet on wet technique and let the paint bleed. Sometimes it bleeds a little bit too much, and that's okay. You can always take a wet brush and kind of just swipe where you want to control that bleeding a little bit. And we are complete with our tulip painting. I'm actually so happy with how the shadows turned out. Like I said in the beginning, I was not sure how that was going to look, but I think it really added so much just lightness to the painting, and yeah, I'm so happy with it. I hope you all enjoyed this video and walk away with a beautiful painting of tulips. So if you did enjoy this video, go ahead and give it a like and let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you also on social media, so you can find me at Emily Winslow Art. I'd love to see your work. And next week we're going to be painting some monarch butterflies, so I am incredibly excited for that one. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you get notifications on when that comes out. And until we paint again next time.